Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I have not been live on the ministry YouTube page in quite a while. However, this morning I was asking and waiting to hear from God on where I needed to go live today to talk about the subject of elevation and what we have to be healed and delivered from in order for us to receive the elevation that God has for us. And it was just put in my spirit to do it on the ministry YouTube page. I don't go out, I don't come out here often to do any lives. So this is something different for me today to be on the ministry YouTube page going live. So I am going to talk about something that happened to me last week, and I pray that it blesses you because it has truly been blessing me um, ever since uh, the situation has transpired um, and everything. So last Monday, the doctors, uh, probably in 2019, the doctors in 2019 diagnosed me with diabetes type 2. That's what they said I have. I accepted it at first and I said, no, I don't. Reversed it prior to COVID. Once we went into COVID, I went into a deep depression that I didn't realize I was in until after we came out of COVID. And by that point, my blood levels were out of control. They were high. They were in the 300s, which is way too high. So I had to go back on medicine. Went on Metaform, stayed on it for about 9 months. That medicine almost killed me. So we got off of that and we went to a different medicine called Jordan's. And so, uh, as you all know, we've transitioned from Jefferson City back to St. Louis. In the transition, bills and things are a lot higher and different here than they are in a smaller city like Jefferson City. Some consider it to be country. I don't know. I guess it is. So, in trying to get adjusted back, um, just wasn't able to get the budget right to uh, be able to get my medication, which is bad on my part. So last Monday was didn't really have any symptoms, or I guess if I had the symptoms, I didn't know I had them because I drink a lot of water. So having to go to the restroom a lot wasn't unusual for me because I drink a lot of water. I drink more water than anything else all day long. So that wasn't a symptom for me. However, my blood level was in the 400s, which is way too high. So went to the ER. One of my dear friends and sisters came and got me, took me to the ER. My son didn't want me driving. Got to the ER in uh, St. Louis County. Went to one of the hospitals, the ER there. And when we got there, it was packed full of people, all kind of sicknesses, all kind of ailments going on. And so um, waited to be seen, went to the back. They took they did the triaging. And at that point, my blood was at 415, 414. And that's still too high. So went back out, waited. They did another test, probably about, I don't know, 3 hours later, 2 hours later, maybe. They did another test, and the blood had spiked up to 453. By this time, my body is just all over the place. I have not, as of now, it is 12:30 on Tuesday morning. I have not slept since Sunday night. So it's now Tuesday morning. I have not eaten since Monday at about 5. So made the decision to leave the ER because they were saying I still had another maybe um, I don't know 5 or 6 hours to wait. There had been people that were waiting up to 10 hours. So prayed, got direction from God, went home, laid down for maybe about 3 hours at the most. By the time I got home, my blood was down to 363, still was too high. Called the doctor, and the doctor stated that I needed to go ahead and go to the ER because at 363 it was still too high, but I took it again after that. It was now 292. The doctor stated it was still too high for her concerns. So got my son. We went back to a different ER closer to our house, which was probably about 10 minutes away from our house. So we go to the ER and we get there, we're waiting. And so now my blood is down to 258. So we waited in that ER for quite a while. By the time we saw the doctor in the emergency room, it was still 258. And so he stated that what he would do with his patients is once they're under 275, he'll give them a bag of fluids. They get the fluids, it gets them down, and then they go back on their medication. I had my medication. I just wasn't able to go pick it up because the doctor wanted me to go back to the ER because I believe that she thought I was in diabetic ketosis, which I was not because I had a lot of fluids in my body because I drink so much water. So if you're not a water drinker, you need to drink water. Water does your body good. Water is something that we all need. So he gave me the fluids, got me down closer to 200, which I think it went down to 240. I went home and got on my medicine. So in this, I had been asking God, okay, God, what was this about? I know I wasn't on my medicine, but what is it that I'm needing to get out of this? What is the other thing outside of me not have my medicine and me not asking for help to get my medicine? What is it spiritually that I'm missing? And, just laying there being quiet and sleeping and resting, what God began to let me know. And he really started with me even throughout when all of this was going on. I just wasn't really able to hear as clearly because I was nervous and upset. And it was a spirit of death. I have always had a thing with the spirit of death ever since my mother that raised me passed away. Her illnesses started at the age that I am right now of 55. And then 10 years later, at 65, she passed. So I've always had that fear of I would have what she have and I would go the way that she went. And so um the excuse me, so God began to deal with me and began to let me know, daughter, I know that you think that you have conquered the spirit of death that has been bothering you for years, but you have not. Because in this situation, what your mind went to was you're going to die. You're not going to make it. You're going to just pass away. And he really began to deal with me that in order for you to be elevated to where I'm taking you, to where I've ordained for you to go, to where I've called you to go, to where I've entrusted for you to go in ministry, you must pass this test. You must conquer this spirit of death, the fear of it. You got to do that in order to do what I need you to do in the kingdom. And so I know a lot of people will say and have said, well, you weren't doing what you need to do. So That was the cause of it. And I'm not saying that it's not, it was, but I also know what God told me. And what he told me was, outside of the thing of you not having the medication, the other thing was you have a spirit of death. Even when you were on the medication, the spirit of death always bothered you when anything happened to you, even when you were on the medication. So there is a can have, even if you're not being obedient, even if you're not doing the right thing, you can still have an issue with a spirit, even though you may not be doing the right thing. And what I'm saying is, even though I was not on my medication, I still had a spirit of death that I needed to conquer and deal with, even when I was on the medication. Even when I was on the medication, I still had that same spirit of fear when it came to death. That spirit of death, it was on me, it haunted me. So that is what I mean by, even though I wasn't on the medicine, I still had it. Even when I was on the medicine, I still had that spirit that I needed to conquer. And so he let me know I can't, the elevation, you can't do it. There are things that you have to go through. There are situations that I will allow to come about to show you, hey, you haven't conquered that yet. You still got issue with that. And in order to be elevated into the area where I'm sending you, you gotta conquer that. That is a must that needs to be conquered. And when I tell you, from last Monday to now, I've been dealing with that. And I've been asking God to help me. Um uh I've been reading the scriptures, I've been praying, I've been asking God to help me with my faith into believing in what I need to do in order to conquer this. And I'm also going to say, sometimes when you go through certain situations, God doesn't allow you to call any and everybody. God will give you certain people to call or certain people to text and have them pray for you, pray with you through the situation. Why? Because God knows they're truly going to be praying. They've got the faith to believe when you're in a moment where you don't have the faith to, where you're struggling, where God is trying to deal with, come on, daughter, you got to latch a hold to this kind of faith. You got to have this kind of belief. You got to have this kind of resolve. Because where I'm taking you, that's what you're going to need. So in this situation, there were only a few people that God allowed me to contact in order to pray, in order to believe. Because at that moment going through this, I didn't have the faith that I needed to have. I was in disarray. And God was dealing with me and saying, daughter, you got to conquer this. And you got to do this. So I needed you to see, though you say you're here and you've conquered this, in reality, daughter, no, you haven't conquered it. But I'm going to help you. And I need you to call these people so that they can pray with you. Call this person. I'm going to have your son tell you to call this person so they can go with you to the ER. Because they're going to minister to you along the way. Because I need you to conquer this. Because you got much work to do. And you can't do the work if you're still holding on to this spirit of death. If it still has a hold on to you. If those generational curses in your bloodline still have a huge hold on to you. If they got a hold that's strong on you. then you can't do the work that I need you to do. You can't make the moves that I need you to make. You can't help the ones that are going to come across your path that I'm going to need you to help if you're still struggling with this. So I got to get you over this. I got to get you healed and delivered from this. You got to conquer it. And this is how we're going to do this. Because your elevation depends on you conquering this so that you can walk forward in the elevation that I have for you. Now, there are other areas that I got to work on you on, but this one, we're going to start with this one right here. And God began to remind me, I'm a man of my word. I made you a promise about longevity. So if I made you a promise about longevity, I am a man of my word. I will not go back on my word. And yes, you have a part to play in making sure you're doing everything you need to do to be healthy, to take care of the temple. But I made you a promise. So do your part, and I'm obligated to do my part. But you got to conquer this spirit first. Because any little thing that happens to you, your mind automatically goes there. And I need that not to be the case. So, yes, I had a huge part to play because I couldn't afford the medicine and I didn't reach out to get help. I own it. I accept it. But what I also know is in all of that, I needed to understand and I needed to know that I still had that grip from a spirit of death, that fear from a spirit of death. No matter if I'm on the medication or off of the medication, because even on the medication, I still had the same fear. So for me, it didn't matter. It does matter that I didn't have my medicine. What I'm saying, the fear was there with or without the medication. The fear was still there. That spirit was still there. With or without the medication, that spirit of death was still there because I had given it access. I had given it an entryway. And the Lord let me know the entryway that you allowed it to come deeper is when you, 33 years ago, decided that you were going to take some pills and take your life. You gave it entryway. You gave it access. So no matter what anybody says to me about, well, you can't suffer that if you weren't doing what you needed to do. Yeah, you can. Because when I was doing what I needed to do, I still had that same fear. It still would have cost me. It still would try to come. So with or without the medicine, I still had that same spirit that was hounding me. Because I gave it entryway. And so what God said was, now you need to renounce the suicide attempt. You need to renounce the taking of the pills. You need to renounce listening to the enemy, putting in your mind, letting you think that that was the only way out of a situation. You need to renounce some things and ask forgiveness and then put it under your feet and let him know you don't get to come back here ever again. It's done. It's over. That my daddy hung on a cross and he crucified it to the cross. And so you don't get to do that again. You don't get to come back. It's over. And so we have to understand that a lot of times we can't share everything with everybody that we've been through because everybody's not going to understand where we are and understand what God is saying to us. Only share what God allows you to share with who God allows you to share it. I'm going to say that again. Only share what God allows you to share with who God allows you to share it with. Because everything that we go through is not for everybody. We have to learn, and I'm still learning this. We have to learn that. Case in point, even with this situation, I have just learned that some things are not for everybody to know. Because everybody has their opinion. Everybody's going to say, people are going to fuss, they're going to do whatever. And yeah, they love you, so that's why they're concerned and they're fussing or whatever they're doing. But you got to know what God has said to you personally. You got to know what God is dealing with you personally. You got to know it. You got to understand it. And you got to say, no matter how people feel, no matter what people say, no matter how people fuss, what I do know is what God has said to me concerning this situation and what God has said I needed to overcome in this situation in order to go forward with what he has for me. I got to know that. Not anybody else, me. Because it's my walk, my journey, my issues, my situation. And it's my call in the kingdom and my ministry in the kingdom that God has for me that I got to do. Not anything else that anybody else has to do. So I am sharing that today. Um, and I'm sharing it on the ministry YouTube page. I hope that it blesses you. I hope that God gives you something out of it if you need it. What I do know is that there are a lot of things in 2023 that I have learned. So many lessons, so many things that God has taught me in this year alone that has blown my mind. And the fact that God loves me so much that he would say, daughter, I need you to conquer this because I have use for you in the kingdom. There is a call. I've charged you. I've ordained you. I've chosen, purpose, destined, and designed for you to do these things. But I need you healed and delivered in this area so that you can move in that realm, so that you can get the elevation that you need. And mind you, on today, my blood, I have a Libre 3 that I have in my arm. And from Monday up until late last night, it was in orange and yellow, sometimes green. But round about, I'd say about 7 o'clock, God took it to the green. And it's been staying in the green. But God gave me a word about that as well during all of this, of what he was going to do, how he was going to do it. So again, no matter what anybody says to me, I understand and I get it. The concern, the worry, I understand it all and I appreciate it because it's done out of love. But what I know is there was something that God needed for me to know and to see. And I know it and I've seen it. And now I'm going to walk this thing out because we have to walk it out. So I have to walk out that my faith is higher than any kind of fear that the enemy would try to bring to me. And that the spirit of death, no, you can no longer live here. You have no rights, no authority, no nothing to live here. You no longer have the right to live here in these premises because I belong to God. I am a child of God. And I'm not leaving until I have poured out every single thing that God has put in me. I'm not leaving until then at all. I'm not changing my mind. I'm not turning around. I'm standing on the word of God forever, forever. So I just hope that this has blessed you, that it will comfort you, that it will keep you, that it will encourage you, that it will strengthen you, because that is what it has done for me. Um, we all have lessons to learn. We all have things to go through. We all have our own cross to carry and bear. And I thank God that I'm learning and I'm growing oh so well. And even if nobody understands, I understand. And I know that God is totally in control and that God does everything for a reason. All right. I love you all. Have a blessed, great day.